Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Hi. I was about 6 when I almost saw the tooth fairy. Somehow there was this conversation with the bigger kids in the apartment complex calling us younger ones babies because we still believed in the tooth fairy. And whenever any one of my friends lost a tooth, we were sure to share the treats that came from turning that tooth into the tooth fairy and getting money back from under your pillow. Well, I was about to lose a tooth, and my friends Kitty and Vivian have been discussing it for days now. And Vivian told me, "You have to stay up to see the tooth fairy, and this will shut the mouths of all those people that are calling us babies." So my tooth came out. I put it under the sheet on my bed, under the pillow, and dutifully went to bed. And I was determined to stay awake and see the tooth fairy. I kind of dozed off, and then I heard the flutter of her wings coming into my bedroom. And I was so scared. I closed my eyes even tighter and wouldn't look. And I heard the jingling of coins flying through the air and under my pillow. And ooh, I was really excited, but I was too scared to look. In the morning, there it was, 10 pennies under my pillow. And I went and I told my friends Kitty and Vivian how I'd almost seen her. I heard her come. I heard her leave the money. It was glorious. And that's how we held on to that wonderful experience of almost seeing the tooth fairy. Now, sisters, this is something that is a childhood memory that kids have, their visit to Santa Claus, the treats and the eggs at Easter with the Easter bunny. And my question is, we have this thing of helping our kids build their imaginations. When is it time to tell them that this is fantasy?
Well, at what age did you find out that wasn't the tooth fairy that left your money? How old were you?
I honestly don't remember. I don't
Well,
remember. There was not like this transition, like one day, okay, I'm the one leaving you that money. I don't remember ever that. Do you?
no, but I remember that Mama told us a story about Barbara. That one time when I lost a tooth, and she was at work, so she didn't know. But I put the tooth underneath, I think, the sheet, because we used to not have pillows. And
Mama didn't believe in pillows.
Yeah, she thought we
no,
might.
Mama said it would make your neck crooked.
Oh,
So anyway,
something.
so I put the tooth under there, but because Mama was working, she didn't know I lost a tooth. But Barbara gave me 10 pennies. Barbara found 10 pennies that she put under there for the tooth fairy. Now Barbara doesn't remember that. So apparently, and she's 4 years older. So apparently I was at least 6 when you start losing your teeth. And so
Mhm.
she would have been old enough to know that there was no tooth fairy, but became my tooth fairy.
Oh,
And that's,
That
and
is so
I don't remember
sweet.
it, but Mama told me that story.
That is so
So
sweet.
yeah, I know you were so nice to me back then, that day.
yeah.
So
That one time.
that one time. So it's funny because now, we've gone back and forth, and I'm like the last one to have a child. So you all have millennial children, but I have a Generation Zer. And a lot of times, but we grew up in a time where some people were saying, "Oh no, you don't teach your kids that kind of stuff because then they'll lie to you or they'll be upset that you lied to them." But I remember figuring out Santa Claus on my own when I realized as I got older that Santa Claus's handwriting was exactly the same as Mama's. And it was okay. And I don't
How
know
old were you?
when,
Do you remember?
huh?
You're quite the detective. You mean on the name tags where it was
On the
signed
name tags
Santa?
where it would say Santa Claus, but it looked just like Mama's writing. So I must have been 10, 11, maybe younger. I don't know.
Well,
But
remember when Santa Claus came to our house?
that's one of my earlier memories, but it was an early memory because of you. Because I don't know, was Doreen even born then?
She wasn't born yet.
Okay, so that would be Naima. Sorry,
Okay.
but but I remember you saying that it wasn't the real Santa Claus because he was wearing shoes and not boots. That's what
What
I
do you have,
remember.
gym shoes on or something?
I don't.
Just regular man shoes.
Oh,
He
Kids,
was a friend of Daddy's.
they've got their little idea of what it looks like from cartoons and books.
oh, he didn't have on boots. Can't be Santa.
So that I remember Barbara saying that. So I would have been 4, maybe 4. So those are the things. But I remember when Sarah was little, and of course we had the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. And even when Sarah lost a tooth and we couldn't find it, her father emailed the Tooth Fairy and told her what happened, so she still got the money. Um, so the Tooth Fairy went through the internet too. Um,
How much is the Tooth Fairy giving up these days?
I don't know because she I don't think she ever got more than. Did she get $1 maybe?
You don't even give dimes anymore, pennies.
Nobody gives dimes. The people are talking about $5 and stuff like that.
People don't give change anymore. It's like paper
I said
money.
no. Yeah, I used to give her. I think she used to get $1. But let me tell you something. I'm not giving a kid $5 unless that tooth got gold in it, because it's just. It's like, give me a break. And they were talking about, oh, your Tooth Fairy is so cheap. It's like, they're kids. What are they gonna do? What are they going to do with
Fairy
the
is
money?
working hard.
Yeah.
2 jobs.
So to sum that up, I don't think it's the worst thing for us to do to give our children a sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And I grew up, and when I remember when I worked at the Globe, and there were guys who had little kids, and all those kids are grown now, but all those kids, they would go out and they throw like the stems of the carrots out in their driveway so that people would think that the reindeer had come and eaten the carrots, and
oh wow,
all these, so people would really get into that because you know what? Life is really short for kids. They're going to be young for such a short time, and they've got the rest of their lives to be old and cynical. So let them have the fantasy while they can, even though sometimes it costs you, like the $100 American Girl dolls that were brought by Santa Claus.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, I don't think that. I'm trying to remember if Santa brought those or if that was the time that it came out that somebody bigger than Santa was paying for those dolls.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was because I was the last born or whatever. It wasn't that I didn't have an imagination, but I always knew it was a joke. I just always knew it was just a joke. I always knew there was no Santa Claus. I always knew there was no Tooth Fairy. I always knew there was no Easter Bunny. I just always knew. And I think maybe because I was the last born, just, by that time you all already knew. So I knew, and nobody.
But we didn't spoil it for you, did we?
I just always knew it was the family joke. it was okay. It was funny, but I never believed in those things because I just always knew it was just a fun joke that we did. And
but it's kind of
because by the time I came along, you all already knew, and so nobody was really pretending anymore. And I guess nobody. It was like
the stuff would still say Santa Claus on it.
Yeah,
though.
but I knew it was Mom and Daddy.
But I think part of that is like suspended disbelief. I don't even know if that's a thing, where you kind of know, but you kind of don't know, and you play along with the whole mystery and the fun of it. Because when you're really young, you really do believe that. And then somewhere gradually you realize that, oh, Santa and the Easter Bunny and all the rest are really my parents. And I
Something
think
in me just never did. And I'm pretty sure it's because I was the last born. By the time I grew up, nobody was pretending to believe it anymore because you all had outgrown it. So I think I was just,
I didn't.
you know,
we didn't have a sit down talk. They sat us down in the room
No.
and said,
And
okay,
usually
there's
kids
no
don't.
Santa, there's no Easter Bunny, and
it's us with our two jobs.
yeah,
Fine, y'all. I just always knew, and I think a lot of things might have
there's
been
no tooth fairy.
because I I just think a lot of things were different from me because of the birth order.
Because of birth order, yeah.
And they're just kind of tired of doing it by the time I came along. So I don't know. I was still fun, but there was just never.
And you still got the stuff that you asked for.
Stuff, yeah. So
Yeah.
I just always knew, and I think we grew up watching, what was that, Miracle on 34th Street and all of
Yeah.
that.
I love that one. The original.
Somewhere. And when my kids were growing up, we actually told them the story of the real St. Nicholas, where that came from, how the whole gift giving thing got started. Because I think some people are afraid to let their kids have an imagination and believe in things that aren't true, but it's just part of fun childhood to me. But I think some people are afraid if I have my kid believing all this stuff that's not real, then when it's time for them to understand a relationship with God, they're not going to believe God exists either, because didn't I lie about the tooth fairy? Didn't I lie about Santa Claus? Didn't I lie about the Easter Bunny? So what makes me want to believe that God is real? And I think that's a real fear that some parents really struggle with. They won't tell you that out loud unless you pin them down and have a conversation. But I think that's why some people just want to say all of it is fake.
Well,
And
I
just
think
blow
also
up.
what
I
happens.
don't know. Have you ever run into anybody like that?
Well, I think what happens when you kind of mesh it all together and then you start talking about God, then I think what happens is a child visualizes God as somehow, looking like Santa Claus, sort of like, man in the sky with a beard, white beard and everything. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
when you put it all together and the child is like 2 or 3, then everything sort of gets smushed together, and that's just how they
Exactly.
visualize God.
And I think, and I don't think, because I mean, Sarah, until she was, by the time she was a teenager or even younger, by the time she was in middle school, she had stopped going to church. But she was going to church every Sunday since she was 5 weeks old.
Mhm.
So that was different for her and learning about, Christianity was different for her than thinking about Santa Claus and thinking about the Easter Bunny. And when she got old enough to ask, well, what about Santa? I said, I believe in the spirit. And this is true. I still do. I believe in the spirit of Santa Claus, of someone coming and being selfless and giving gifts because they care about you. That's different from saying, yeah, and that's a way of saying because that's really what it is about. Is the spirit. Is not just being mercenary. It's the spirit of giving and of love. And so if you tell them that way, it's not that terrible. Obviously they know that bunnies don't lay eggs, so they know that kind of stuff is silly. But the thing is that if you can teach them to embrace the spirit of giving and of love, it doesn't matter what form that takes. If it takes, Jesus, if it takes, because a lot of very people who are atheists don't believe in God, but they still believe in complete love and utter love. So it depends on what you're trying to teach your child. Now, by the time Sarah was 12 years old, she was way past the Santa Claus, but her 6th grade teacher, probably because he still had younger
Oh,
kids,
kids.
had them writing letters to Santa Claus. And I thought, you know what? She's 12. She knows there's no, or she was 11, I guess. She was 11.
Well,
All of
I,
them knew
I
that
would think by the time you're writing, you kind of know. I would think.
yeah,
I don't know.
you know. I
Yeah.
mean, she had also gotten, letters from Santa Claus because, like I said, everything's on the internet where you could, have them say, oh, hello, Sarah. Yeah, you asked for such and such,
Well, see,
Um,
that's the difference too, because your child was kind of raised with the internet more than ours were.
Yeah, the internet
that's
was
true.
just coming
Yeah,
into focus when John and Lorelai and Lavinia were younger. It was
yeah,
just started, like in the 90s.
And
yeah.
Sarah
But
was a
I
toddler.
will say that one thing that really helped sort of the nest that was when my kids were older, they started doing things like saving money to give to buy a chicken or a goat to someone in a third world country, and that would be a gift, and they would know that they are being like Santa Claus to these children, and these kind of gifts are going to save these kids lives because they live in a poor country where they don't have enough food, they don't have clean water. So it was the beginning of them understanding the whole compassionate feeling about you have more than enough, you are very blessed, you need to be willing to give and to give out of your own earnings, not mom and dad giving you money and then you give it. No, this is something that you have worked for so that you can take part in that feeling of compassion. I think at a young age, and even writing a letter to one of the children that we supported through compassion, I think that sort of helped them kind of grow out of the fantasy mode and really understand the nature of giving.
And that's the thing. Now, when Sarah was in Sunday school, like I said, she started, well, she was going to Sunday school and I was teaching Sunday school. I mean, she was just learning to walk. So she was what, a year old. And, because I was bringing her every week, and there were older kids. And what
Hmm.
we used to do was we used to do Toys for Tots. The church would would
Yeah,
would donate money, and we would take the kids, and the kids would actually go to Walmart, and they would buy toys for kids. They went in teams, and nobody got like really crazy like, oh no, I want this, I want this, because they understood this was for other children, and so they would buy the things that they would like for other children. So they
yeah,
learned about the whole gift giving spirit, and the spirit of giving to other people, not just underserved or whatever, like looking down. It wasn't just about the charity, it was about we have what we need, and now we are going to give back to other people. So it was
yeah.
fun, and we used to do that every single Christmas for I don't know how many years, and it was really nice. And then we go and drop them off at the state police, take a nice picture, and then their reward would be that they would get to see their pictures in the newspaper. But that's the thing. And anytime you teach what these entities are supposed to teach you are that they're that of love. Now with the tooth fairy, let me tell you, I'm full confession, I still have a baby tooth that never came out. Should that tooth come out, I'm putting it under my pillow, and I expect some big bucks for it because I am in my 60s and I don't care who the tooth fairy is, but somebody's giving me some money. So
We need to add some interest on there from the time it would have came out.
exactly. So
I'll
so
just
You sound way too much like Lavinia, who at the age of 10 or 11 said, oh, the tooth fairy owes me some money, and came to me with a list of teeth that had been missed. And so it
sorry.
should add it up to like $50. And I was
How
rolling
much
my
are
eyes
you
and
giving her?
laughing because she was serious.
How much are you giving her a tooth?
I don't know. I'm just saying, somehow,
No,
one day
no.
she came to me and said, oh, a couple of times I did not get my money from the tooth fairy. Here's my
Sorry.
money.
Sorry, can't help you. You snooze, you lose. No, no. Statute of limitations, you get nothing. You know.
Oh,
But
man.
I think it is important though to teach the philosophy of giving, however you do it. That's really the goal. Because, Zakia used to come with me and a friend of ours. We would go every Friday, right before our Friday services at the mosque. We would go and hand out sandwiches to the homeless around the city. And there were a lot of them. So we would go make sandwiches and then we'd hand them out. And Zakia was with me. And so she kind of learned about, sharing and giving and everything. And then sometimes we'd take bags of clothes and we'd give out some clothing and things like that. So she saw that. And then later on, she even came up with a charitable organization, Taste Not Waste, where you would take food that maybe was going to be thrown out at a banquet or something like that, and rather than them throw it out, because if they serve it and it doesn't get eaten, they got to throw it out. But if it's not been touched, then we package it up in these to-go containers and give it to the homeless. So we've done that a few times. So I think she got the spirit of it, and that was the whole thing. And for the most part, I mean, even though we didn't necessarily celebrate Christmas in our home or Easter in our home, but downstairs, because we lived in a 2-story family home, and my brother-in-law, he's the biggest child observing holiday person ever. I mean, he goes all out. So she'd go down there, and through him, she experienced everything. She, whether it was decorating a tree for Christmas, or boiling and coloring Easter eggs for Easter, or putting together candy for Halloween. I mean, he just went all out for all the holidays. So through him, she just got that whole childhood experience.
And she got a double dose, because when she came to our house, we did the same thing. She got an Easter basket. She got to do the eggs. She got the candy. And I read the stories. And
because
I think our children had a rich childhood.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You want them to have fun during childhood. Of course, she never believed in any of it because we didn't teach that, but she experienced the fun of it, which was the whole point. And then she got the experience of giving to those who would appreciate, us sharing. And so funny, a lot of the people who had been homeless at that time, years later, I'd see them and they'd ask about her, because everybody remembered Zakia, the happy little girl that I had with me. So
that is so sweet. That is really sweet.
Yeah. So they
remember your kids.
Yeah. How's that little baby doing? Oh, she about this tall now. Not that wear her shoes. Yeah. So, but it was a good experience for her, and just understanding that you should share, you should give. And that's really what we want children to understand, and basically to pass on whatever tradition you follow, pass on the spirit of it. So what would you tell parents they should follow in terms of what age, if they're going to do this, what age should they kind of let the child know, okay, this was just all in fun? What age would you say?
I would say, wait, I don't know if there's an age, because some kids figure it out at 6 and some kids are still hoping at 12. I remember one of my brothers-in-law says, if what did he used to tell his kids, because he had 3, and he says, if you don't believe, you don't receive. So, so they're all
I believe.
So I believe they probably still believe in Santa Claus. So, even though they're like in their 20s. But I think at some point, I think you could always wait until they start to ask about it, because they are, they're smart kids, and some of them figure it out. And I mean, maybe some kids feel betrayed. I never asked Sarah if she felt betrayed. Because I think if you tell them something like, well, I believe in the spirit that this brings, and this is what this means. And yes, we have been doing the work, and we have been giving it to you, but we give it in the spirit of knowing that, there's a big world out there, and a lot of people love you, and a lot of people love each other. And this is one of the ways we show. And then you don't, so you're not saying, yeah, we've been lying to you. So what,
Yeah, it is important. How you say it is important. Yeah, well, we've got to go. But of course, we want to remind you all to make sure you follow
Did she block us? Where'd she go?
And we will see you next time. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We're three Black moms.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.